I don't wanna have
Intensely sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barbizzo FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas.
Get your foot there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
Canvas is going to win.
Tonight, FTF.GG is proud to bring you coverage of WINSTEL Racing from Daytona Beach, Florida, as the drivers get set for race 12 of the chase for the WINSTEL Cup here on FTF.GG. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Daytona International Speedway for 45 laps of action to see which drivers pick up the victory and which drivers survive the big ones when it comes to the midway point of the 2003 season. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Derek Watson, Zach Johnson in the producer's seat as we get ready to go racing super speedway style, Derek.
Well, JP, here we are again. It's where we began the season, and now it's where we're going to pick up basically the halfway point of the season after a very interesting road course race last week.
Yes, indeed. Zach Campbell coming away with a victory on the road course, but now it's the question, who comes away with a victory on a super speedway? As we get ourselves set to go, let's take a look at how these drivers will fare out tonight here on FTF.GG from the World Center of Racing. Towerhead starts on the pole, a big day for him just a few days ago, celebrating the birth of his new son, Henry, on June the 8th. He'll start alongside Super Speedway ace Emily Howe. Brendan McGee starts in row 2 alongside Ryan Doucette. do set amongst the top 3 in the battles at Sonoma. Zach Campbell, the defending race winner from Sonoma, starts row 3 alongside Philip Snipes inside the top 6 drivers. Row 4, Gabriel Mauricio starts up front with Dylan Roberts looking to power the DEI number 8 up to the point. Christian Budd and Evan Locke, who's on a momentum as of late, a top 10 run much of the day at Sonoma, leading there as well. He starts 10th here tonight, Derek.
Right, we'll pick up with the 91 of James Holzer and Sean Pelican of 48 side-by-side in row 6. Row 7, Austin Reedy in the 90, Jonathan Hernandez, in the 83. Tyler B. Murray in the 30 with Brandon McKissick on the outside in the 42. And in row 9, Quentin A. Clark and Jim Thorndike in row number 9, Justin.
Row 10 features Brady Williman amongst the newcomers with Chris Hancock trying to power the 16 machine for Rouse Racing to the front, like in real-world action. Nicholas Toussaint and Kyle Benson in row 11, Anthony Krobach and Chris Champo amongst the Baker's dozen. Looking back to row 13, Christina Ryan, also someone to watch for in the Super Speedway. Steve Goodley alongside, Alex Bates and Ali Osman amongst your top grouping. Also of note, Jose Solis Jr., Parker Alexander towards the back and the back groupings of drivers tonight.
That's right. I'll pick up here with Ben Hancock and Jeffrey McClintock, then TJ Crampton and Brandon Cruz Molnsevice, and then Lilac Sierra in the 11 and Matt Skipper in the 43. And then last but not least, the 89 car of Hayden Rapus. So JP, it's going to be a busy, wild, crazy night. Patience is probably the name of the game.
Lots to talk about tonight. First things first, when it comes to the race itself, 45 laps the distance, 80% the fuel limit for the Super Speedway race. In turn, these drivers expecting this to be a busy night. Your expectations for WINSTEL action tonight for the 2003 edition of this race at Daytona.
That's right. This was a big race for Greg Biffle. So we'll wait and see who wins tonight. Of course, expectations would be with Emily Howe and Dilly Roberts in the DEI machines to get to the front, Justin.
High expectations for many as we get ready to celebrate the midway point of the 2003 WINSTEL season. Towerhead, Emily Howe, the front row. The green flag waves up at the stand. We're underway from Daytona. Back and forth between the lines as Emily Howe has to push from Ryan Doucette down the straight. But Towerhead keeping that bottom side strong. Howe starts off with a lead lap here tonight from Daytona. And most of the pack staying together. Drivers were willing to go 3 and 4 wide in testing for tonight's action.
Yeah, and testing is important here. It lets you know what to do and when to do it. When do you time a move? What kind of move are you willing to make? And when are you willing to take that risk? Daytona is a big mental chess game, Justin.
It's also important to think about who you're working with. Many of these drivers looking to try and find some friends. Sometimes friends are as you find them.
And sometimes enemies are as you find them, Justin. You can think someone's a good friend and they dump you out of a drafting line and you'll never work with that person again.
It does happen as Towerhead happens to lead a lap that time around. And what a stellar season it's been for Towerhead so far. We talked about...
Options out already, Justin.
Oh, in trouble at the back of the field. Our first yellow flag. Kyle Benson involved as well as we're under yellow. Solis Jr. slowing the grass.
Just about the time you said we've completed a lap, they went ahead and celebrated a little way of pausing the caution. We'll take a look on the replay machine in a second. Here you go, Justin.
Let's take a look, and sometimes checkups. Yeah, that almost looked like parked checkup.
Well, I think that's a save over there on that first car that went spinning to the inside, that blue and red car. Watch that again. I don't think they hit anything. Watch this.
That'd be one of the newcomers to the 90 machine, yes. but others who got harder hits, Champo, the 88 machine. You also have Nick Doucette, significant damage, who's had strong success at Daytona and WINSTEL action.
There's the 90 back in your screen, and I don't see any damage on that car, JP.
So we're under yellow, and some of the drivers trying to catch up to the rest of the pack. Emily Howe right now is scored the race leader based on the timing loops around Daytona International Speedway. Keep in mind, with the 80% fuel limit, drivers expected to have about a one-stopper on the gas. Based on what we've seen over the years, track position so critical here. Just about a couple laps turned here. Lots to think about in terms of the points so far this season, because Tom Head, we were talking about such a big time, having the birth of a child as well, is the points leader, currently up in the standings by 65 points over Nick Doucette currently.
I don't want to say what a surprise. That sounds so negative, Justin, but in a way, like, I am surprised. You have some really big hitters in this league, and Tyler Head himself didn't have a lot of confidence coming into the season. We're seeing a couple of people come down pit road here. But congrats to Tyler so far on that success. You know, we're basically halfway. Ooh, that was a close cut right there by that Urban car, Justin. I'm not sure if he got away from that at the time.
That was with the 97 machine. That's Philip Snipes, one of his best starting spots, in fact, the best all season. But others like Ryan Doucette, it looks like, electing to go to the back. This is a common trait we see sometimes. People like to stay in the back in case things get hairy at the front.
You know, JP, and a lot of people think of that as an iRacing strategy, but it's not just an iRacing strategy. In actual NASCAR races, we have seen people, Michael Waltrip, Dale Jarrett, and others, fall to the back on purpose, get out of the way, let a wreck or two happen, you know, find your comfort zone, and then move your way to the front. So it's a thing that happens. I mean, and now it has to be more prevalent in some of these drivers' mind, because lap one, we've already had our first caution that probably had no less than 8 cars involved in that first wreck.
So as we work our way under the caution flag, talked about the rest of the drivers doing well so far in the standings. James Holzer amongst the top 3, amongst those who topped off on the gas right there. Ryan Doucette amongst the top 5. Dylan Roberts went up 3 spots after a strong run at Sonoma last time out. But also amongst those who are looking to battle, Sean Pellick coming off the best run of the season at Sonoma, also tied with Ryan Doucette on the points, 144 back. So Pellick amongst those, also with momentum at the 48 for Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, a lot of momentum here. And you know what the key to this race is and why everyone loves it? You never know. Anyone in this race with the power of the draft could pull out, you know, a last-second victory. We've seen it time and time again, both in this race in 2003 with Greg Biffle. We've seen it in later years with surprise winners, both in the 500 and the summer race. So this is a race where momentum was almost put on hold for me. And it's just about being there. It's about luck in this race. There's some skill, but I think luck plays more of a factor in this Daytona race.
We've seen how crazy the races in WINSTEL action can be here at Daytona, with how many photo finishes have been around this racetrack, with how many times we've seen Trex just after the line, with the big ones making iRacing not top 10s and top 10s. We get all set to go with Howe setting up for the restart sequence. So it's Howe, Head, on with McGee, Snipes, Campbell, Roberts, Mauricio, Locke, Pellick, McKissick, the top 10 so far. About 18th on back, electing to take pit stops. The early going here at Daytona.
So I know we talk about it every week, but let's talk about it again. Just restart rules in this league. All lead lap cars to the outside. You cannot pass on the inside until the start-finish line. This will be very unique compared to what we're used to nowadays to see how this works and see what kind of jump Emily Howe gets on the rest of the field.
We talked about Emily Howe and her specialty when it comes to super speedways. As a matter of fact, just last year she held the EA Howe 500, for example. She really loves the super speedways and usually is a contender here. Wouldn't be surprised if Howe breaks through tonight, based on how close she's been a couple times over the past year in WINSTEL action with this car.
I recall Howe being a contender for most of the day during the WINSTEL 400 this year, so, and other super speed races. So you're definitely right about that. But, you know, JP, talk about how chaotic and busy this race is. As we take a look at our scoring pylon, 3 drivers in the top 26, only 3 are still in the same spot they started the green flag in. That's how many spots have changed for the positive and negative only 3 drivers are still in their original place.
Coming up to 39 laps to go for the green flag here on FTF.GG. As WINSTEL action makes its way to the midway point of the season after tonight. Now waiting for the green flag once we get up to the start box. We'll see how the strategy comes into play with drivers able to top off a bit and have it about a 4-lap difference once they get the green flag going in terms of laps in the tank. Green is up at the stand. We're backing away from Daytona. And nobody willing to jump out of line. First 4 to the bottom. Zach Campbell now helping McGee on the top. Oh, and Head Ditcher. Head wants the lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, JP, Head was very indecisive about that move. That's a very dangerous move at a super speedway. You can actually cause a pretty massive wreck or put yourself in the back of a line. And at a super speedway, you have to make snap decisions about when you're moving a lane. I was concerned Head was going to get stuck in the middle there and force it back.
And look how much distance is already built up just after the top 10 or so. About 12 on back, starting to lose touch of the draft already. As back to the point, Tyler Head now lockstep in different places. Howe now leads the bottom as 3 wide. Campbell wants to force it.
And the gap, the big gap right now, JP, is between 17th and 18th. There's almost a 1-second gap back there between 17th and 18th. But here we got 3 wide up front. Someone is impatient.
Campbell has no help and is still making up momentum with the side draft. McGee to the lead, looking inside. Campbell now drops to the back. In turn, Brennan McGee gets the help on the bottom. Now pushes the league admin and organizer. Here's it on board with Howe. And once again, a near spin around. Did we mention these bumpers don't usually line up easy?
Yeah, we haven't yet, but we need to. That's what's different about these cars, these Gen 4 cars in iRacing. These do not line up correctly. You cannot bump draft that hard or you will spin someone. It's pretty easy to do. But look at this, Tyler Head and Dylan Roberts making moves on the outside. It gets a small gap here. And I think they're about to clear the 9. Nope, he got up there.
And this gets to the conversation of what drivers talk about so much with this car, using the air as the pushing, because in some types of racing on super speedways, the truck series, for example, comes to mind pre-update. There's an air bubble that you prefer to push. You don't make physical contact. It's more powerful if you push with the air bubble.
It is more powerful, but the difference too, JP, is in the trucks, they line up pretty well. You can push with the trucks and push someone pretty hard. Compared to these cars, if you push someone too hard in the bumper here, you will loop them around.
They did change that model, though, keep in mind, where it's stronger with the tandem draft to be able to slam forward to push a line for the trucks. Speaking of these cars, meanwhile, 3 wide. Campbell doing a stellar job on side drafting.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not in 2003, JP. If you want to talk about an iconic Daytona moment, the 20 car winning and climbing the fence at Daytona, that's an iconic Daytona moment that comes to mind for me.
You're talking in terms of the summer action in particular. It can be an intriguing time here for drivers, though, keep in mind, because it's so difficult to win this race because of so many factors at this racetrack, night or day.
Yeah, and the biggest factor that makes this race difficult is everyone else. A single wiggle, a single move, a single moment where you lose focus on what you're doing, and someone else can end your race, and there's nothing you can do about it, no reaction time, nothing. It's just over.
Here come the Dodges. Mauricio is bringing Brandon McKissick with them. They're tandeming with the help of Campbell, 3 wide for the race lead. Mauricio to the point.
If you look here, you see Dylan Roberts got moved to the outside, 3 or 4 back. That's left Tyler Head without a drafting partner, and now down the middle he's going to go and have to find a new partner.
And now this is where it's so critical to be precise. 3 wide, multiple rows deep, several pro drivers right in the heart of the pack.
You know what? This is one of the hardest things to do in iRacing. It looks simple. These guys, for right now, are making it look good, JP. But you and I have both been in 3x3 situations, and no, this is not easy to pull off.
Tower Murray a little squirrely on the apron, near contact coming from the back end as well from the 16 machine. McKissick still trying to work that outside line with two of the Joe Gibbs Racing cars. A little tied up the wall once again. McKissick running part-time much of this campaign in the 42 machine. Whenever he runs, though, he's a contender for the victory.
Really is. I want to stop for a second and give a shout out to P7. That's the 26 of Quentin Clark. Someone we don't focus on a lot here in our broadcast, but up running top 10 already in that Dr. Pepper machine. It's a pretty awesome run for Quentin Clark here with 33 to go.
You gotta love the Dr. Pepper Dodge whenever it runs up at the front. Curlback also up 15 spots already. Others towards the back, such as TJ Crampton, 21st up 12 spots. Still 32 laps to go. 4 rows of 3 wide so far. The pack is about 25 cars thick.
Really is. You know, Brandon McKissick, you focused on a second ago, up 13 spots to find himself up there on the outside trying to win this race. So the confidence and aggression can pay off well here at Daytona.
It also takes a lot of skill. And a very specific skill set, though, when it comes to the Gen 4 car, because of that difference in bumper, because of how different the models are from car to car to car. It's not as simple as you're great at every super speedway. You also have to know every nuance of the cars to maintain this pressure, especially when you're 3 wide like this, like Campbell.
You know, the other thing to talk about with the nuance of this race, JP, we're using the old scan of Daytona International Speedway in this race. We are not using the new smoother scan. At some point, if we find ourselves on an onboard in the bottom lane of someone, watch how bumpy it is. It's so much harder to hold on to than you can imagine in these cars. So there's a lot of nuance here. This is Emily Howe. Let's see if we can find it in this corner here. It's those bumps right there. That's not our producer shaking the camera, Justin. That's just how this track feels. And trying to hold a wheel steady during those bumps is not easy, to say the nice words.
And the longer the run goes, the harder it's going to be able to hold on to that wheel. 30 to go. McGee still running that bottom line. Mauricio the middle line. McKissick the outside groove.
Tell you a small story, JP, about myself that's funny and humorous. When I first started iRacing many years ago, I loaded in to this track with probably a normal, whatever car was free at the time. And I didn't know what force feedback was. I thought you wanted all of it. So I tried performing a lap here with those bumps at 100% force feedback. It was like driving a jackhammer around this track.
Okay, did your wheel survive the lap?
It did. My arms almost didn't, though.
Not gonna lie, in the early days of iRacing, did that where it was about 45, grounded all the screws inside the steering wheel rim, and it fell off in the middle of one of the 600-mile races at Charlotte.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so yeah, I learned a lesson that day. You don't want a lot of force feedback. That was my first iRacing lesson on day 1.
Still trying to sort themselves together in these lines. Drivers going to have to think about pit strategy pretty soon, keep in mind, because the normal window for these cars, around that 31, 32 lap window with about 80%, it's more towards the halfway point. Guess what? We're nearly at halfway.
Yeah, there'll be 2 groups here, JP. The cars 18th on back who pitted under the last caution will probably get maybe 1, maybe 2 more laps than people who didn't pit. So there'll be 2 groups here. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Look who's amongst those trying the outside line, though. Ali Osman in one of the Hendrick Motorsports machines all of a sudden has jumped up to 3rd in line on the outside, with some of the drivers moving to middle.
Earlier, Justin, we talked about strategies in this race. And if we can move back, if we can get to the 84 car, that's Jim Thorndike. He's the first car back there who's not exactly in the draft. He's kissing the draft, maybe. But he's one of those drivers who's willing to wait back and see if he can avoid the wreck or make a strategy later. This is like the first car out of the pack, I would say.
Well, technically, he is within the draft of Jose Solis Jr. That's the bright side.
As I said, he's kissing the draft, but compared to the rest of these guys, he's not really in it right now, although he is sucking up a little bit here.
You know who's out of the draft? James Holzer, 27th. 10 seconds back, believe, from the pack.
Yeah, that's pretty far out. So I'm guessing he got shuffled out, or he's just willing to wait this out and see what happens. There's that pack back there. There you go.
Several of these drivers topped off on gas under the caution. In fact, one of them is building a lot of respect. They did very solidly when in their debut at Sonoma. That is Reedy. And Austin Reedy was amongst those in the teens most of the day at Sonoma, kept the car clean, didn't get involved in any trouble, and now building respect with competitors James Holzer, Ryan Doucette, Parker Alexander in line.
Yeah, so these drivers here, as you said, that's a good line if they keep in it. I don't think they're going to make up 10 seconds, but that's a good talented line. Holzer, Reedy, Doucette, Alexander, Chris Champino, pardon me. That's a talented line, but we'll go back to the front here. There's still 3 wide, Justin. This is so impressive to see. These guys should be proud of themselves about this. Now, however, getting yourself in line for a pit stop on your 3 wide, that's a whole different talent we've not talked about yet.
Yeah, that's going to be very critical to communicate as nearly falling them down. Mauricio in the door of Howe. McGee electing to block off the bottom line to get the lead of the grouping down below. That's where it gets a little bit sketchy there, and those types of moves where you might follow somebody down like that.
Yeah, and part of that reason might be for side drafting purposes. You think that by side drafting someone, you're slowing them down, and you are. But there's a big risk, big reward here. See what happens here. Look at that gap in the bottom lane, JP. That 9 and that 15 are doing an incredible job staying up front, seeing as how that big gap they have behind them to their next car in line.
Well, McGee does run a lot of super speedways as well. Usually even official actions there. One of those on the track, McGee. And McGee right now showing off some of the super speedway skills as a crash in the back. More cars stack up as the yellow flag waves. Up in the wall goes Brent and Hancock and Kyle Benson getting turned for our second yellow.
Well, this will throw all of that gas strategy somewhat out the window, actually completely out the window. There'll be, 23 laps to go as of this point. So the gas tanks are no longer a problem for these drivers.
Second incident Benson's been involved in today. Benson was running in the teens, and it's Ben Hancock who turns him. 3 Welsh racing cars.
I'm pretty sure from that angle, JP, I can confidently say it's what you talked about. These cars don't line up. Oh, not it didn't line up. They weren't even lined up. Like, he was on his left inside. I'm not even sure if he was at his bumper as much as he was on the inside of that car.
Alexander amongst those also with contact in that. TJ Crampton significant contact. There it is once again. You do not want to bump into the corner in the first place.
There's a lot of drivers who will yell at you, please don't do that, please don't do that. A lot of drivers don't want to be bumped in the corner. I don't know, actually, JP, I'm going to put you in the spot. How do you feel about that as a driver?
I hate it.
Okay, yeah, we're in agreement here. I hate it too. I usually don't do that. Like, I hate it as well. Okay.
So we're under caution. Brendan McGee up at the point. Mauricio and McKissick, all 3 in Dodges, in the lead after a 5+ car incident. And now it's going to be the interesting mark on how this field shuffles out with the strategies. We've seen the tires be big in terms of the calls. Expecting the full tanks here to get to the end.
Yeah, I think we will expect to see that. Now the question is, will you expect the N1 take 2 or no tires here, or does everyone go 4 tires?
That's going to be the bigger question, I think, for those who are in the saving pack.
See pit times on our pylon here. This will be total time on pit roads. We'll have to compare some when they come out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple people take 2 tires.
So there they
Watching
go
in the front here.
So there they go into the pit stalls, trying to get themselves their Goodyear Eagles in fuel, and there goes McGee way early.
I can say,
How next in line? Mauricio, I believe, may have beaten out head.
Well, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure her head was only 2 tires. I did not see the other side of that car lift up. I was staring pretty intently. I don't think I missed that.
So now it gets interesting, and those who took the early pit stops are still mostly in the teens here. Everybody coming to pit here on FDF.GG for WINSTEL action here from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. For those just tuning in, just approaching the halfway point of the race under caution, Brendan McGee, Emily Howe amongst the front runners all night. Brendan McKissick also as well in that conversation. Gabriel Mauricio was also amongst those in the front 3 rows for much of that last run. Zach Campbell had started up the 3rd line. He's back in 7th after getting shuffled back a bit after the side draft for much of the day. And others such as Jim Thorndike now in the heart of the pack. We'll see as well if anybody picks up the intensity, because drivers like Holzer and Ryan Doucette are 19th and 20th for the green.
Well, the first driver I can confidently say that took 4 tires is Christian Budd right now. That's the one who has the longer pit stop time. I'm still working to confirm on Sean Pellig, but everyone above them. So basically, I believe 13th forward is a 2-tire run here.
That's the intriguing part, and probably the thought process again that a lot of teams go through on the sim side in terms of the pro level especially, or the qualifiers. How much time will it take to fill the car? And if the answer is less than a 4-tire stop, we just found out the answer. So just about sorted out here with the one-to-go signal. McGee having one of his best races this season in WINSTEL action. And it's going to be interesting by the end of the night if we see a new winner in the Winners Club. How exclusive is it in WINSTEL competition? In the history of the Gen 4 Challenge, dating back to a couple seasons now, in turn, just 13 drivers have won a WINSTEL race in the Gen 4 car. 13 out of 127.
Yeah, and it's almost even more exclusive this year, JP. We've seen a lot of repeat winners so far this season.
And we have several of those who have a chance to be able to join that list up at the front. McGee is in that conversation. Howe's in that conversation. Mauricio's in that conversation. Next back is Christina Ryan, who quietly is up to 7th. And then notice that 80 car slowly walking forward before the cautions.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think that 8 car, Dylan Roberts, was doing a great job at testing that car, JP. What line worked, when to fall out of a draft, who to push. It felt very, honestly, it felt very 8 car-ish for this time frame of 2003. This patience and ready to go. Well, last time this was a pretty clean start. Everyone moved to the bottom quickly. I'm curious if we see the same thing or who decides to pull the title ahead, so to speak, and ditch the line this time.
Just about all set to get back underway for tonight's action from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. About to start off the final 20 laps of action from Daytona. Brendan McGee up at the point. Green flag is out, back underway. And last restart, the driver who led them to green off into turn 1 got ditched by turn 1 entry. Emily Howe this time electing to stay stationary. In fact, why don't we run the middle of the racetrack?
And look at that once again. History repeats itself, Justin. There's Tyler Head, the first one to ditch out of line and try and make a move. Here comes Tyler Head on the inside at Daytona.
Zach Campbell once again back to the top line, trying to make up the 3rd groove as they chose the middle. And there comes the charging Christina Ryan. Oh, and McKissick nearly into the wall. Murray avoids contact.
That was scary when I saw McKissick go up like that. He wiggled that car pretty hard. I thought for sure he was going to eat that wall. But here we go, 3 by 3 again. Oh, 3 by 2 right now, I guess. But here we are, back where we started before that yellow.
Back and forth for the lead. And again, what a night for Christina Ryan. 19 spots up, 2nd car outside line. Lock of muscles on the apron there through 1 and 2.
We haven't talked about it yet, JP, but it's time to talk about it. 19 to go. Drivers were reminded in the driver meeting, yellow line is in play. You better not flirt with it, because the officials will be watching during and post-race to see if you have used that below that yellow line for your advantage. So even when we come to the finish here, that line is in play. So you need to figure out how to make a move around this pack without breaking that rule.
That's a shift, keep in mind, from previous WINSTEL races on super speedways in the past. A lot of drivers have been staying above that yellow line and nose down the backstretch today, down that front grouping. No one able to clear quite yet. Down to 17 and a half laps to go. And it almost seems like that middle and top line are dead even. The bottom is losing so much ground down the straights.
But I think they're losing ground because they can't keep people patient down there. I mean, look at that gap again between this McGee and is that the 24 behind him? Look at that gap they got down there in the bottom. If you could close up that gap, there's no reason why Tyler Head isn't competitive, if not leading this race.
New race leader, Zach Campbell this time around. So once those in the conversation, Ryan Doucette has gone up from the 20s up to 11th. Top line, the 77. Oh, and one car to the bottom of the racetrack below the apron. They keep straight and we keep going.
That's that is a yellow line, but that's the opposite of the rule. The rule says you can't advance your place below yellow. If you want to pull down and let people by, there's no rule against that.
That was Jim Thorndike, by the way, who's running in the teens.
Now that gap on the bottom has closed up a little bit up front, as we saw in the front of that camera shot there, Justin. Oh, hold on, yellow. Oh, big yellow.
Ryan Doucette goes around. Alex Bates collected. Several more crash to the back as the yellow flag's out for the third time.
Oh, the 77 was up off its wheels. And there was a car hard into the wall on the inside. I missed who it was in the first shot. But that's 77 high up in the air, off its wheels.
Some point implications with Christian Budd involved. Budd amongst the top 10 in points, as well as Ryan Doucette. There goes Montevice cutting through the grass and hobbling forward through the green stuff. Let's take a look at what happened. Bates also was collected. Let's see.
That camera shot's hard to tell. That's the 10 in the wall.
Yeah.
We have to see it maybe from the back of the 77, or at least somewhere in the middle of the pack. I didn't see a better shot of it. I don't know, but I didn't see much of what happened there.
It almost looked like the hit broke Bates' car at least, but you can just see how much axle damage has been picked up by Ryan Doucette as well, at least on the left front, if not the right front, broken. Here it is again. They were at the back of the 3 wide. Curl back of the wall.
It's as if the 18 checks up and Doucette wasn't expecting it, is almost what it felt like, because there was a humongous gap between 18 and the cars in front of him. So I don't know if he just like lifted or I'm not sure.
Yep, it absolutely looked like in that case that Krobach almost looked like he hit the wall to cause the checkup. But that incident just took out a lot of fast cars. That pack was about 23 cars deep at the top of the yellow flag, and now a lot of those drivers have to come down the pit lane from the 20s. Still approaching the final stretch of this race, and already fuel being thought about by Zach Campbell with that caution.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be about 11 or 10 laps to go when we go green here again. I'm not surprised to see no one pitting here.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell you what, though, if we can do it real quick, let's focus on the one car real quick. Parker Alexander he lucked out in that wreck. He avoided that wreck and is up 18 spots since the start of the race. So good job, Parker. Give you a small shout out there.
He's up to 12th position, indeed, up 18, as you said. And Alexander, he had an interesting finish to Sonoma because he ran top 10 much of the day there, finished top 10 still. But for those who missed last time out, there was a crash at the line, final 100 meters or so, where TJ Crampton ended up going around just as the battle for 6th came coming on in. Amongst those who avoided him, Austin Edwards, Parker Alexander, unfortunately nowhere to go, ends up smacking into Crampton, finishes the race backwards, still in the top 10. While Crampton finishes on 2 wheels about 200 meters past the finish line and tilted up like a podium car.
Well, I'll tell you what, for Parker, I mean, even though he finished backwards, as you said, he was top 10, which given his season, that's good news for Parker to be in top 10. He's had a really rough season. I have a lot of respect for Parker Alexander, a really talented guy, has had really, really bad luck so far in this 2003 season.
Yeah, it was eventful when you think back the 2006 season for him as well. Here's the thing. Alexander is 12th in the points. He's still a ways back 351 for the championship fight, but all it takes is 12 consecutive races of consistency. You join the fight. You know what is a part of that schedule stint? Tropicana 400, Chicagoland Speedway before the summer break, New Hampshire, Pocono, the Brickyard, Watkins Glen, Darlington, all amongst those in the next couple months to start that momentum off. A lot of different tracks, none one track that's same as the other.
A very eclectic schedule, very different tracks, as you said. So someone who's consistent and a good driver will come out of that summer stretch with a nice set of points. Someone who's an all-around driver, maybe a jack of all trades, but a king of none, I believe the phrase says.
So we get the one to go signal this time. Jonathan Hernandez appears to be amongst those coming in this time around. Or at least thought about it, or at least it's having technical issues. All of the three, potentially. Either way, McGee, Campbell, Head, Ryan, Howe, Roberts, McKissick, Mauricio, Locke, and Tyler Murray, the top 10. And people keep forgetting about Tyler Murray. He's been in the top 10 much of this race. Very tail end of it, but he's been there in the 30.
He has been. So let's go back a second and talk about the points. That's why you're going to see drivers such as Doucette or Skipper on pit road fixing that car. You know what? You're not going to win this race anymore, but you come out here and you turn a couple more laps in every other wrecked car, and you gain those points you need to say you won this title. Remember, there's no chase. There's no playoffs. There's no winning in. There's nothing. It's pure points the whole season. Every point will matter and could matter when we come to our finale.
And here's the thing to consider, too. Whenever there are qualifying sessions, it goes by top 35 amongst those who are locked in, and everyone else has to qualify their way in. Well, currently 35th of the points, Jacob Potek, not here tonight. He's had 5 starts this season. Olivia Hayward, 36th, haven't seen Hayward. Chris Hancock, amongst the full-timers who have had a rough go of things, in 37th in points, needs to pick up a lot of points. And then some to get to 35th, and Hancock's been at least one wreck in the 16.
And that's a lot of stress when you have to qualify your way in week by week, pardon me. When you're not sure if you're going to race, you put so much more time into hot lapping than you do racing. That's a lot of stress. But here we go again. We're going to see Brendan McGee and Zach Campbell lead this field around, Justin. Maybe our last restart, maybe not.
All set to go, Brendan McGee in control. Heading for the green flag. Back underway, about 12 laps to decide things. So far, so strong. There goes Tyler Head. Back to the trends to the inside. First one to do so.
And the first car I saw pop out of lines on that bottom of your screen, that AOL machine of Tyler Murray, was the first one I saw pop out of line, and now the whole bottom lane has formed, and Tyler Murray is right there back in the thick of things out of turn 2. Oh, wrecking.
Mauricio, Roberts, several others stack up. It's the big one with 12 laps to go.
Well, it's unfortunate for Tyler Murray. Made a move to be involved, and, well, they are involved.
The wrong type of involved. Reedy also involved, you've seen there. A lot of contenders getting caught up in our big one. Let's take a look. Seen the move, and then the spin.
Just a bad bump from the inside sent Mauricio to the inside. And from there, for a while, there's just nothing you can do. You're on the ride. Mauricio comes in front of you. There's no reaction time here. I think that's what we all kind of forget about. We get in the race mentality, Justin. There's no reaction time for Tyler Murray to avoid that. Let's watch it from high above here.
Yeah, contact from behind, and then Campbell has the lead, and then everybody piles in about 17 lanes deep.
You're not supposed to take the bus stop, guys. Or, sorry, the Le Mans chicane.
Either or works.
I guess in 2003 it doesn't, actually.
Yeah, it was still the bus stop in 2003. Anyhow, big incident, draws the caution flag. Campbell already saving on the apron, scored as the leader. Howe, Head, McGee, McKissick, the top 5. Where in the world has TJ Crampton come from? He scored in 7th.
He scored in 7th. Parker Alexander up to 8th, by the way. We had talked about him in the last caution. There he is again, moving up more spots.
Amongst those also have made up spots with this caution. Thorndike we've seen pull out earlier on. Also amongst those making up more spots, Chris Champo involved in the first caution flag. And how about this if this ends up happening? Hayden Ripez, car 89, has ran towards the back much of the season. But for Ripez, do you believe in the power of Morgan Shepherd? Could this be the night Morgan Shepherd powers the 89 to a victory?
Not only would it be that, JP, but while this is not an official iRacing race under the iRating and all that other stuff, this would be a last to first challenge if he wins this race. Remember, he started dead last on the grid to start this race.
Currently scored in the top 15, but still a lot of heavy hitters to try and pass. Under 10 laps to go when we get back away about an 8-lap shootout. And there are several drivers with some damage now up at the front here. How does that factor into things with so many drivers with bent quarter panels and fenders that drivers are going to have to try and work with or drive around?
You have to quickly identify who those drivers are, and you have to get around them. You cannot work with them. If you want to get in front of them and let them kind of, quote-unquote, push you, that's fine. If you get stuck behind someone who has a bent quarter panel, a bent fender, a bent anything, you can end up sinking like a rock so quickly that you'll never make up the time. You have to get around them and identify them. So this is where spotters become a useful tool. If you have a live spotter, I was looking down the grid. No one in this race has a live spotter tonight, Justin. But those are useful for that exact purpose.
A lot of drivers discussing things in the sim I've noticed throughout the night, though, so there is that. But still, can Campbell make it back-to-back? And keep in mind with how things have played out for Zach Campbell, he's missed some races. That's why he's deeper in the point standings, but he is still somebody, when you potentially factor in drops, who could be in the hunt by the end of the season, by the final 5 races for the championship. He's 10th coming into today in the points.
And we talk all the time about how great of a driver Zach Campbell is, you know, both in this league as well as the stuff he does on the roadside and appears on many iRacing broadcasts because of his skills. So not a surprise to see Zach win the race last week. And Zach has won oval races, so he's not just a ringer. You know, you think back to this time frame, Justin, we had, you know, your Boris Seds and the other road course ringers who would come in. That's not who Zach Campbell is. He's an all-around driver who just happens to be great at road courses. He's the Bobby Zielinski of this league, you almost say.
That's a decent comparison, to say the least. After all, he has a history of working with drivers like Bobby Zielinski for years now. But as we get ready for this green flag sequence, 8 to go here for WINSTEL action from Daytona. As things have settled, Campbell, Howe, Head, McGee, and McKissick, top 5. Those drivers have been up at the front all day. Christina Ryan, up 19. Thorndike and TJ Crampton, who was involved in at least one wreck earlier, in 8th. Champo has moved up to 9th despite the damage. And also Quentin Clark is in the top 10. Here's a name we haven't talked about too much all year. Jeffrey McClintock for Petty Enterprises in 11th for the restart, up 21.
And I'll do one of my own. Lilac Zero in the 11, up 22 spots in 13th. So this is where you see where paying off and being patient through the wrecks pays off. All these drivers who are way up, Justin, unfortunately, that means there's someone just as many spots down later down the field who's been a victim of carnage so far.
And getting back to the Shepherd Racing Ventures storyline that's popped up, that car only ran one time at Daytona in 2004. It finished 33rd. Ripes gets a chance to outperform Morgan Shepherd. Coming into the green flag. Back away. 8 to decide it. Oh, and everybody ditches Campbell. Head tries to ditch Hell once again for the second time this race.
And that will probably benefit Zach Campbell momentarily since those two split up. Oh, hello. Save it. Don't wreck.
Ryan, several more, and there they go. But Mauricio Roberts gets turned again, this time by Montsevice. And we'll re-rack him and stack him. Caution is out, 8 laps to go.
That was one of the longest forming wrecks I've seen in a long time, Justin. Felt like that thing took forever to happen.
I mean, the second cars go on the apron. Chaos ensues. This is the trigger spot around back here, and Benson again in the area.
It's like the 43 had it saved. That's one of the first cars I saw down on the apron, and they just kind of briefly touched that yellow line, and it got the car around, and on it went from there. I've seen Riso involved. I've seen Dylan Roberts. I've seen a couple others involved here.
Oh, and everybody, it seems more so not in regard to what happened with the apron with McGee and company, but the checkup effect, Eric.
Yeah, it does. From that camera angle, you're right. That's what it appears to be. Chaos once again strikes. This is the beginning of the race here. So they're going to be 3 wide right here. Let's watch it from this angle.
That was off McKissick's bumper. They all saved it here until there, and then they wreck in the checkup. It's not been Dylan Roberts' night. Significant damage. They'll resort themselves out here. Howe scored the leader at the top of the caution flag overhead. Campbell shuffled back to third as everybody seemed to ditch Zach Campbell.
I mean, that's the move here with a single file restart system, is you need to ditch the leader and make a move, because if you sit back and just race, you know, that's where you're going to be. So that's the pressure here that they're feeling with 7 to go, and now probably 5 to go when we restart again. You know, that's the pressure you feel, is to make that move happen and see if you can't make something happen quickly. Everyone now should have the gas to go to the end, so now you want to get out there and lead, because the belief is, although we've seen it happen where it's wrong, but the belief is if you're out front, Justin, you're not in the wreck.
I mean, that is the mindset for some.
You can talk to, was it Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson at Talladega around this time frame? Was that 2004 when Brian Vickers proved them wrong, to say the least?
Well, that was 2006 when Brian Vickers picked up that victory in very not popular fashion.
Yeah, that wreck went forward, by the way. That it's like they wrecked forward up through the field in order for Vickers to win that day. But yeah, not popular at all.
77 Ryan Doucette, Lucky Dong, credited from race officials there. But still, go ahead.
A big beneficiary of this caution would be Tyler Murray, by the way, JP. He took repairs as long as he could on the last yellow and waited for the pace car to come around. Avoided this wreck. Is still on the lead lap, by the way, as far as I can tell. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about this, actually.
Score 22nd, yeah.
Yeah. ESPN scored 22nd. So depending on how much more damage he could fix and how brutal this race is, Tyler Murray could go from being wrecked a few laps ago to a top 10 pretty easily in this race.
Let's keep an eye on that indeed. As we make our way to the closing stages of tonight, likely a 4-lap shootout from here. By the way, let's talk about a bit about the upcoming events. FDF action also on FDF.GG's main feed as well tonight. For its FDF Cup Series brought to you by Bar Visuals, currently in action. Will be joining that way in just a few moments' time at the conclusion of this race this evening. As well, coming up on the schedule, Core Sim Wrap Market Summer Series action at The Rock starts off on Monday, June the 12th, 9 p.m. Also, Penguin RC Simulation Grand Am Series for SimCar close out the season. The race at Watkins Glen Thursday, June the 15th, 8:40 p.m. Eastern, the start time. And don't forget about the ModernRacingPrints.com FDF1 Series. It's road course racing from Road America this Friday, June the 16th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Catch that on FTF.GG.
That Road America race was listed as the mystery GP on the schedule, Justin. And then Mendoza and I got to break that news during the Texas race of where they were going to go. So drivers have now had a couple weeks to prepare for that quote-unquote mystery GP. So that should be exciting to see that race happen live Friday night here on the FTF network. Well, JP,
shootout. Who do you think's got it?
You beat me to the question. You're so good at this. I really think it's going to be someone outside the top 5. I think the top 5 are going to get greedy enough to kind of race their way out of it. Listen, I really do believe that caution was the best thing to happen to the drivers who pulled out and got 3 wide pretty early. I'm going to put my money, if I had put money on it, it would be probably on Brandon McKissick in the 42. I think that outside the top 5 is the right answer here. I was going to ask you a simpler question of inside or outside the top 5, where does our winner come from?
We do have Howell, Head, and Campbell who have been inside the top 5 the entire night. But everybody else is up double-digit spots in the entire top 10. So that should say just how much pressure can come into play. Well, let me put it this way. How difficult will it be to pass 3 lanes again if it comes to that?
Well, Justin, there's a saying in poker we have, in order to win a tournament, you need a chip and a chair. In order to win a Daytona, you need a car and a steering wheel. We're about to find out who can do it.
4 laps to decide it from Daytona International Speedway. Howell looking for her first career victory in WINSTEL competition. Green flag is out. 4 to go. And to the inside, Christina Ryan starting to battle it out for 4th with Thorndike. There goes Head on the ditch again.
Was well to the inside by Christina Ryan, by the way, Justin. That was, I think, probably deeper than Christina Ryan meant to go to the inside on that start there.
2 by 2, a couple rows deep once more. Head getting some help from Ryan. 3rd line forming up. Here comes Thorndike taking a thought back to 2 wide. How not letting that top line build itself a run for Campbell again. Coming to 3 laps to go.
24 is forming on the outside to make a 3rd lane, trying to get some movement up there. Now they're 3 wide here, just in the front of this pack, JP.
Up through the middle. McKissick trying to peel them off. Nearly to the wall goes Thorndike as he gets shuffled out. Crampton shuffles Thorndike additionally. Two and a half laps to go from Daytona. Howell getting the push from Campbell. Head trying to get another victory on the campaign.
Oh, McKissick tried to make it 3 wide there, and I thought for sure that wasn't going to go well, but he thought better of it.
Coming up to 5 miles to go as there goes Hayden Repez getting loose. And Repez slides with Montsevice in the grass. We stay green as Montsevice saves it.
Contact up front.
Oh, and down they go. Crampton up on the wall. They're wrecking through turn 1. Caution flag is out. And this brings point of no return overtime.
They were racing to the scene of an accident for a while in that restart, JPI. In a way, I'm surprised it took that long. That sounds really negative, and I'm sorry, but there were probably 5 or 6 near wrecks before that one actually happened.
Let's take a look, and this got hairy and fast. McKissick bobbles, and Crampton goes around.
And in classic Daytona fashion, Justin, you know who's not involved? The guy who bobbled. McKissick's fine. He's going to run up in P5 on this restart. Let's watch it again here.
It was more so Crampton, I think, getting helped by Nick Doucette. And Benson, a 3rd incident involved in on that slide, by the way. And now Tyler Head scored the leader over Hal Campbell, Christina Ryan, as everyone tries to catch up. And now it's time for that WINSTEL overtime period. But remember, Any crashes from here, it stays green.
It's kind of scary to think about a Daytona, but you're right. Once we take the green flag, the race admins have said they don't care if there's another wreck. We're going to race it through both laps, white and checkers. So if there's a wreck, there's an incentive to put your foot in the gas, JP. And I'm not a fan of that style of racing, honestly, but that's what these guys have agreed to do, and that's what they're going to do. So you could quickly race your way from, like, you know, back of the pack to top 5 here by doing that strategy when this happens, if it happens.
And it's now to the thought process too. How do you now try to plan this out? Because it's now different in the context of if they wreck, it's chaotic. Think back to the Texas race, I believe it is. Either that or the Charlotte, where it was down on the final lap, half the field wrecked. Remember, including down the back stretch and down the front stretch. It was Charlotte, in fact. The race Bud dominated at. Now, imagine that at Daytona.
Can't, because, like, my mind is stuck on the unfortunate spot that Tyler Head is in, JP, because now he basically has to race from the opposite window he's been racing from all night. Tyler Head now has to race from the rearview mirror, at least on this restart. If you let that pack get below you or above you, no matter which way they go, and they pass you by, you'll have a hard time getting back in contention for this race. Your points are valid, though, and I don't want to also ignore them. You're right. Like, anything can happen here. I mean, I'm just picking a random name here. Like, you know, we have Tyler Murray in 18, and Tyler Murray could win this race just by not being in that lead pack and driving past it. It's crazy how this works, but Tyler Head is in the worst position possible right now, and I don't know how Tyler Head is gonna salvage a win here. It feels impossible.
Funny thing is, when you think back to when things were getting rolling in terms of the iRacing broadcast side, one of the things they did was the preseason Thunder Series at Daytona back around 2019, if you remember that. One of those, remember, with the whole Coke field in the field, about 20, 30 cars wrecked in 3 and 4, and the one driver who did not crash obviously won because everyone else was up in flames in turn 4 in the grass. Not saying that can happen tonight, but it has been close to that in WINSTEL. Tower Head. And here's the other thing that could happen that's more likely. 2 times tonight, Tower Head has ditched Emily Howe, as Howe was the control car, and immediately took Howe side by side into turn 1. What stops Howe from doing that again?
Nothing.
Or doing that to Head?
Right, and nothing. And you know what? That comes back to a point you and I made about lap 2, lap 3 maybe, when we said, you make friends here, and I said, but you also make enemies, Justin. And I'm not saying that they're enemies, but I'm saying once you've ditched someone 2 or 3 times, your motivation to help them is less, because now you know that they didn't want to help you. That's not how it works. That's not how it works in anything in life. If you have a coworker who ditches you every Friday to go out, you know, play top golf or go drinking and leaves you with all the work, you're less incentivized to help them when they need help on a project. But if they're willing to stick with you and help you and motivate you and push you along, you'll bend over backwards for them, or at least you're more likely to. There's no world here where if I'm Emily Howe where I'm like, oh, hey, you remember how you ditched me twice in this race? Here, let me push you. No, that's not going to happen.
Remember, with these cars, if you push somebody, you're actually going to wreck them.
You know what? At 2 to go or 1 to go, no offense, but at that rate, I'd take a risk to win a Daytona race at this league, of a high caliber talent of this league. I'll take that risk.
Just saying.
I'm not saying I'd wreck someone on purpose. Now, don't misunderstand that comment. I'm saying that I would test the bumper. That's all I'm saying. I'd use the chrome horn. Use some. Never mind.
So Tower Head looks to try and break through once more in what's been a picture-perfect season, trying to get his 3rd W of 2003. However, Howe looking for her first. Ryan looking for a first. McKissick looking to add to his win column. Crampton looking for an upset for his first. Who's going to do it? 2 to go. 5 miles to decide it from Daytona under the lights. And there's the block. Howe with the crossover. Getting help from
Beautiful
Campbell.
Beautiful block by Head. That's going to keep him in contention for this race by making that block. Great job driving from the rearview mirror.
Crampton down on speed. McKissick now moves to the top, bringing Nick Doucette. Only two lined up at the bottom, tight. All the help going to the top lines down the backstretch. Oh, and Head's losing help. Head trying to block two different lanes as Ryan gets ditched. Osmond helps Head. There goes Ryan to the bottom. McKissick to the middle.
Here we go, JP. Moment of truth. About 2.5 miles left to find a winner. Who is it going to be? Let's find out.
Emily Howe trying to hold on for one more lap. White flag taken. Howe tries to block the lanes as Campbell gets side by side of the door. Here comes Head inside with a push. Sean Ellig on the run.
Look in the middle of that 42. Brandon McKissick is trying to find a way around. He is not being patient. He's pushing and shoving and trying to find a way through this as we come down the back straight for the last time, Justin.
Howe's clear of the bottom. Elects to stay with McKissick. Final time for the banking. Can Howe hold on for the straightaway? Head with the run, but it's Howe with the burst. Emily Howe becomes the 14th ever winner in WINSTEL Gen 4 action as they crash again after the line.
What a finish. What a great finish. From a race that saw some contact and aggressive driving all night long. These drivers proved they can race clean when they want to.
And Howe does it at a track she's strong at. Daytona and the super speedways. She's been close so many times on the super speedways. Has been very close as well when it comes to winning on some of the mile and a halfs even as of late. Tonight, she breaks through with one of her best races start to finish.
Was amazing. That was a great job by everyone involved. A great block by Tyler Head, but more importantly, a great job by Emily Howe to win this race. Congratulations. You deserve it.
Once again, Emily Howe getting the chance to celebrate as Lavik Zaire coming on to celebrate with her and congratulate Howe on the accomplishment tonight. When it comes to Howe, we talked about her commitment when super speedways into this league, 34th career start, 30th ever green flag taken out of those attempted qualifications. First win and first top 5 in Gen 4 action comes here. So the celebration's on. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results as everybody joins Emily Howe in the grand into the grass along the Daytona front straightaway. Emily Howe picks up the victory. Brendan McKissick by 0.062 seconds is in second. Zach Campbell, Tower Head, Christina Ryan, Nick Doucette, Ali Osman, Sean Pellig, Parker Alexander quietly in ninth, and after getting involved in just about every incident, Kyle Benson makes it to the top 10?
Certainly does, JP. That's incredible. Let's start back at 11th with Lilac Zier, who up from 35th, and Tyler Murray up to 12th, by the way. Christian Budd, Jim Thorndike, Jose Solis Jr., Hayden Repus, Austin Reedy, Quentin Clark in that Dr. Pepper machine, Dylan Roberts in the 8, and James Holzer in the 91 round out your top 20.
21st, Matt Skipper. 22nd, Ryan Doucette after being a lap down at one point. Philip Snipes, Gabriel Mauricio, Chris Chappell, Brent McGee, Alex Bates, and Brandon Cruz Montsevice. Evan Locke drops from the top 10 to 29th at the end, a minute and 2 seconds back with some crashing. TJ Crampton had issues on the final restart, finishing 30th.
He was the first car 1 lap down, and then from there, McClintock 6 laps down, Jonathan Hernandez, then Brady Wheelman in the 88, Anthony Krobach in the 18, Chris Hancock, Ben Hancock, and then Steve Gauthier rounds out your 37 field race tonight, Justin.
Emily Howe becomes the 14th winner in WINSTEL Gen 4 Challenge history. Does into the 2003 season. Emily, you've come so close so many times when it comes to this Gen 4 chassis. You did so strong in the super speedways in 2006 season. You were in the conversation a couple times this season amongst the top 10 and for top 5s. You win for the first time tonight in this car. How does it feel to be in WINSTEL victory lane?
Oh, it's fantastic. I've like you said, I've gotten so close so many times, and this is the first time to really set it in there. And I knew in Daytona in February that we kind of made a mistake with the strategy to go to the back, but this race I spent the entire time at the front, and it feels like I really earned this one.
Lots of strategy when it came to tonight, but how would you describe how you played that finish, especially since with the knowledge of having Towerhead twice in your same situation, leaving you out to dry, you left him to dry?
My plan was to work with Christina because Christina's in my living room, so I figured her bumper would be pretty solid being on the same internet. And I wanted to get down to the bottom. I saw her in fourth, but Tyler covered it, so I just had to go middle because I didn't want to be in the middle or at the top because I knew that, at that point we'd be probably wrecking up to the top, and we were trying to go up and up around each other and losing that momentum. And then once Zach went up to the top, I just knew McKissick in the middle would have to be there, and I hoped that they would be kind of locked in off a fourth so they couldn't get a run on me, and that's kind of how it was. I was up front by myself, and there were three behind me, so I knew I just had to block one run and just get one push. And I got to give a big thanks to McKissick for pushing me that last lap. He knocked my bumper off the ground and just really shot me forward.
A stellar night for you tonight. Congratulations, Emily, once more. Your first ever WINSTEL victory. In fact, your first ever top 5.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long time. I mean, we've been close and we kind of missed on strategy or just didn't have the pace at the end or got caught up in wrecks. But this is, the first time that we really had a good showing and the first time of victory, and it feels fantastic.
Once again, that's Emily Howe, your winner tonight for WINSTEL action from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway with Gen 4 machines. On that note, though, Derek, it's time to get towards a quick goodbye. Your quick thoughts on this night. Howe, 14th ever winner in the Gen 4 chassis in WINSTEL history.
Well, congrats to Emily Howe. That's the easy thought for that. As far as the rest of the race, it's Daytona. That's exactly what a Daytona race is. No matter the talent of the drivers, there's wrecks, there's calamity, there's damage, and there's a surprise winner. That's Daytona in a nutshell.
But on that note, it's time to say goodbye from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway here on FTF.GG. We're now joining those watching along with the Bar Visuals FTF Cup Series as they are working around Road America. It just so happens to be Brody Kostecki up at the front currently. We'll see how things play out. From Wisconsin, let's head on over there with the next gen cars and for Bar Visuals FTF Cup Series action.